Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This video is going to be a little different than my typical videos about simplifying mom life, but it is one I have been wanting to do for a while, and I figured there is no time like the present to share this video with you guys because people are kind of getting sick of being cooped up in the house all the time and are ready to get outside and explore. But if you are anything like me, the thought of taking your kids hiking, especially if you are doing it by yourself, can feel really overwhelming. I know I was so nervous the first time I took my kids on a hike by myself without my husband. And if I had had a list like this, it would have made it a lot less intimidating. So in this video, I am going to show you exactly how you can get started hiking with little kids, and I will also show you a gear list of what you need to get started. If you are new to my channel, I am Kassy with makingtimeforgiggles.com, and I make videos all about making mom life simple. So be sure to subscribe down below if you would like to see more videos like this one. Even before we had kids, Ross and I knew that we wanted them to learn to hike because we loved hiking, and we still do. We did it all the time back then, and we wanted to make sure that we continued to hike once we had a family. So almost as soon as the girls were born, we would put them in the soft carrier, our Lilla baby, and we would take them on hikes with us. Then as they got a little older, once they started toddling and wanted to toddle on the trail with us, we would let them out, hold their hand, let them walk as long as they could, and then we'd put them back in the carrier. And we would just go back and forth for as long as we were hiking. But when I had my second daughter, I knew that I wanted to get out and hike more by myself during the week with just me and the girls. But like I said, I was really nervous to do this, especially the first time. I mean, what happens if I got out there and somebody got hurt and I couldn't carry everybody back? Or what if we got lost or ran out of water? Or I just had all of these reasons why I thought something was going to go wrong. And then I met a mom who had 4 kids, 18 months old to 8 years old, and she went hiking by herself all the time with the kids. So I asked her if she would go with me for my maiden hiking voyage by myself. And thankfully she agreed. And through hiking with her, I gained a lot of confidence on how to hike by myself with the kids. So without further ado, let's get into how you can get started hiking with your kids. The first thing that you want to do is you want to set clear expectations. So even though I had been on a lot of hikes with my kids before, the first time that I went out by myself, I still sat down with my oldest daughter and I told her that she was going to have to do this hike all by herself. And she asked me, well, who's going to carry me when I get tired? And I said, nobody is. You are going to have to do this whole hike by yourself. Now, obviously, I chose a hike that I knew that she would be able to do based on previous hikes. And it's always a good idea to start smaller than it is to start too big and have them get really discouraged that they won't be able to do the whole hike. But the first thing that you want to do is to have a talk with them and explain what it will look like while you are on the hike. We always stop at the halfway point to eat lunch when we're on a hike, even if it's a really short one. So I explained to her, once we get to the halfway point, we will stop, we will take a break, we will eat lunch, and then we will come back to the beginning of the hike. And once she understood this, she felt much more confident about it, and so did I. Now you want to be sure as you are talking with them that you are showing a lot of excitement and confidence about the adventure you are going on. And this will help them be more excited and confident as well. So try to keep this in mind even if you are feeling nervous just like I was. The second thing you want to do when you are just starting out is you want to go with other kids who also like to hike. We had been on many hiking trips before, but typically, if there were any other kids on the hike, they were riding in carriers, and our child was the only one that was actually doing any hiking. So when I was going by myself, I wanted to make sure that there were other kids who would be doing the exact same thing that she was. On almost every other hike that we had gone on, she would alternate between riding and running or walking, and then she would want to ride again. And we thought that she was getting tired, and that's why she would ask to get in the carrier. Well, I found that when I went on the hike with the other kids, she hadn't actually been getting tired. She was just getting bored and didn't want to be left behind. And since she was the only little kid, we would tend to get way far behind all of our other friends. So once I realized this, we started going on a lot more hikes with other kids who enjoyed hiking. And having her do a lot of shorter hikes with other kids really helped her build up her endurance for when we did want to start doing longer hikes. The third thing that you want to do is you want to time your hike. When you are deciding when to do your hike, take into account nap times, how busy they have been the rest of the week, and when their meal times are. Planning ahead and making adjustment for these little things could be the difference between feeling defeated at the end of your first hike or having your kids begging for more. Number 4, choose a hike according to your child's abilities. You probably have a pretty good idea of how far your child could walk. So when you are starting out with the hiking, I would say to take that number and make it a little smaller. It is better to give them a good hike that they can absolutely do all by themselves than to be pushing them and have them resisting and deciding that they don't like to hike at all. We still do plenty of longer hikes as a family that our 3-year-old can't quite do on her own. But when we do those, we make sure that we have some way to carry her back if she gets tired. But when I first started out hiking by myself, I made sure that the older daughter could definitely do the hike that we were going to do. And now that my younger daughter is 3 years old, I also make sure that she is able to do the hikes that we do during the week. Number 5, let them explore while you're on your hike. I am naturally the type of person that likes to just get things done. I like to put make bed on my to-do list so that I can cross something off first thing in the morning. And sometimes it's really tempting to view hiking in this same way. Just get it done so we can cross it off our list. But this isn't the best way to get your kids to enjoy hiking. Children love to explore and they love to experience nature, not just see it as they're walking past it. So make sure you have plenty of time for your kids to be able to splash in the puddles or touch the leaves or play in the dirt for a little bit. Just let them really enjoy and take in the experience of hiking. Number 6, let them figure things out. If your child wants to bring a toy along, let them know that they will probably get tired of carrying it, but that you won't be able to because you are already carrying all the other things in your pack, and they will have to carry the toy the entire way back to the car. I remember on one of our first hikes, my oldest daughter really wanted to bring along her dolly in this adorable little dolly carrier. And I told her that she would probably get pretty tired of carrying her dolly, but she really wanted to do it because I was carrying her sister. So I let her. And since I let her, I never had to argue with her again about bringing a toy on the trail because she learned very quickly that it's not as much fun as it seems. It's also great to let them figure things out when they are trying to climb on trees or climb on rocks. As long as you can tell they aren't going to seriously hurt themselves, let them figure out how to get back down if they climb up on things. You can actually use hiking as a logic and critical thinking class as well. The 7th thing that you want to do is you want to keep attitudes positive. The first year that my older daughter was learning to hike on her own 2 feet, the inevitable happened. She fell down and scraped up her knee and had blood running down her legs. The good news is that we were able to clean up the knee with our first aid kit. The bad news is we still had about a mile to go before we got back to our car. So to take her mind off of her knee, we decided to sing songs and tell jokes and kind of just make a game of getting back to the car. And pretty soon she forgot all about her knee and hiked all the way back to the car on her own 2 feet. If your kids are really struggling to get through the hike, let them pick any song that they want and sing it as loudly as they want with them. Trust me, it is better to hear the green grass grew all around 100 times than it is to hear the alternative of whining and complaining. If they can't think of a song they want to sing, try teaching them a song that you learned when you were a kid. Ross and I are not singers. We don't enjoy singing in public at all, but we have saved many a hiking trip by swallowing our pride and singing with our kids. Number 8, be prepared to stop. Sometimes kids get tired and they just hit a wall and can't keep hiking any longer. When this happens for our kids, we try to give them some options. Do you need a drink of water? Do you want to take a break and climb on this log for a little bit? Or do you need a snack as we keep going? We have found that it is best if we can keep them moving in some way because sometimes if they sit down, then they don't want to get back up again. But sometimes all they need is a couple minutes just to throw rocks in a stream, and that will help them keep going. If they do need to stop for a couple of minutes though, don't make them feel bad about it. Tell them what a great job they are doing and how proud you are for how far they have come. The 9th thing that you will need to do is you'll need to teach them how to go potty in the woods. It is almost impossible for us to get through a hike, even with a 3 and an almost 6-year-old, without somebody needing to go potty. And it's really not a big deal because our kids have been going potty in the woods since they were potty training. But if you haven't taken your children on a lot of hikes before, they may not know how to pee in the woods, and it might be good to just take a little time and explain to them how it will look and how you can help them do this if the need arises. We have found that most hikes do have a porta potty at the parking lot, but even if we have our kids try before we leave, they typically still need to go at some point during the hike because you're drinking a lot of water and sometimes you just gotta go. So talk to your kids about this. If they haven't spent much time in the woods, let them know it's okay if they need to go in the woods, and here's how it would kind of look. Number 10, help them when necessary. Bend down and tie their shoes if they need help, even if you know that they already know how. Take off their shoes and socks and look for rocks if something feels funny in their shoes. And sometimes you do just need to carry them for a little bit. If they do need to be carried, I suggest agreeing on a landmark up ahead a little bit where they will start walking again. But sometimes they just need a little bit of help to keep going. And number 11 is to be prepared. You want to make sure you have good hiking gear with you, especially when you are hiking with kids. There were times before we had kids that we hiked with very minimal gear. But since having kids, we have definitely learned that it makes everyone a lot happier if everyone is warm, well fed, has plenty of water, and all of those things. So I am going to show you a quick gear list of all the things that we take hiking when we go with our kids. And I will put Amazon links in the description down below so you can find the items as well. But some things I have found are a little cheaper at Costco or REI or things like that. So I'll try to remember to mention where we got each thing as we go through this list as well. But I will put links down in the description if you want to see exactly what we have. The first thing that you always want to have with you is plenty of water. Take it from somebody who ran out of water when they were hiking through the Grand Canyon. Too much water is always better than not quite enough water. So I always have with me, I will show you here, I use a water bladder in my backpack, and I use the Osprey one. I will link it in the description down below because I love it. And I also have this cool little cap on the end of mine, and that keeps any dirt from getting in it when I set my backpack down. But I love having the water bladder, and by the time my girls were about 2.5, they could easily drink from the water bladder as well, so I didn't have to bring anything extra for them. Before they were 2.5 though, I would bring their little sippy cup with them because I wanted to make sure they could get plenty of water as we were hiking, and I didn't want them to have to be figuring out how to drink from a water bladder on the trail. So just make sure all of your kids can drink from whatever device you are bringing. Something else that I like to use though on short hikes if I don't want to bring my water bladder is I love this hydro flask, and I will again put a link in the description down below. But this one is great because you can hang onto it comfortably and it can easily fit in the side of my backpack, just like that. And then I don't have to worry about filling up the water bladder, and it's just a little easier cleanup for shorter hikes. So no matter how you bring your water, just make sure you have plenty for you and for your kids. I usually bring about 1 liter for myself and the kids on a 3-mile hike, just to give you a little reference there. The second thing we always bring with us on a hike is snacks and sandwiches. Normally my girls don't eat outside of meal times, but when we are hiking, that rule definitely gets bent. We have found that giving them a little snack when they are struggling to keep going can go a long way in helping us get to the end of the hike. We get most of our hiking snacks at Trader Joe's, and some of our favorites are these little packages. They're called Just a Handful of Olives, and they come in 2 flavors, the green and the Kalamata olives, and these are just awesome. They add a little saltiness, especially if you're eating something like peanut butter and jelly. It's nice to just have something a little salty on the trail as well. We also love Lara bars, and also Honey Mints from Trader Joe's are another great hiking snack. I'll put some links in the description down below of some of our favorites if I can find them. Sometimes Trader Joe's doesn't always list things on their website. I've tried to find them before and have failed, but I will do my best and see if I can find some of those for if you would like some healthy snacks on the trail. The third thing that you want to have is proper hiking shoes for everyone. Yes, technically you can hike in tennis shoes, but we made the mistake of having our older daughter do this when she was about 3 years old, and we did not realize that her feet were freezing on one of the hikes that we went on. We couldn't figure out why. She just kept saying she was cold, and she was too little to explain to us that it was her feet that were cold. We kept trying to bundle her up and put coats on her. We had friends putting coats on her legs and hats, and I mean, we tried everything to warm her up and we just couldn't. And it wasn't until we got back to the parking lot that we figured out, oh my goodness, her feet are absolutely soaked. And I felt just horrible. And I went out the next week and I bought hiking shoes. So we have found that secondhand stores are awesome places to buy hiking shoes. These are actually the little ones that I bought that week, and they've served us super well. My younger daughter is now using them. Completely waterproof, and they can stomp in puddles, and as long as they don't go up over this, their feet will stay dry. So we got these at a secondhand store for $15, and we have found that if you try to buy hiking shoes for kids new, often you can spend $50, $60, $70 or more dollars online. But if you go to secondhand stores or even outlet stores, you can get them for a lot cheaper. So be sure to have good hiking shoes, waterproof hiking shoes, but try to look around because you really don't have to spend an arm and a leg on them if you don't want to. Another thing you can do is you could get hiking sandals. These work really well in the summertime, but often I still just have my kids wear the hiking shoes because we live in the Pacific Northwest. And sometimes even when it's 80 degrees at the parking lot, if you climb a mountain and are going to a waterfall, it can get really cold up at the top or near the waterfall. So typically I will just have them wear hiking shoes even if it's summertime. The next thing that you want to make sure every child has is hiking socks. And I do recommend wool hiking socks because if their waterproof doesn't work on their hiking shoes, or if they get the water up over the tops of them, their feet could get really wet and cold unless they have wool. So I really struggled to find small wool hiking socks because not many little kids are out hiking, I guess. But I did manage to find these eventually on Amazon. So I will put a link for those in the description down below if you want to check them out. But any kind of wool hiking socks should work just fine. The fifth thing that I like to have when I'm hiking with my children is a hiking backpack. And I like to have a hiking backpack because even if they are just carrying air for the first few times, it gets them in the habit of carrying something. And I know for my younger daughter, she was very eager to put things like her little olive snacks into her own backpack and carry it to the waterfall or wherever we were going by herself. And it just made her feel very independent. And I also like them to have their own backpack because when they shed their layers, it's really nice to be able to stuff it in their own backpack. That way, if they get cold, they can easily get it back out by themselves. These little backpacks are awesome. We got these at REI, and I love them because they have chest straps, so straps that go around their chest, and they also have waist straps, which just helps distribute the weight a little bit better if they did put more things in it, and it helps them carry the backpack properly. The other thing that I love about these backpacks is they have a water bladder pouch, and they have a little hole here so that you can feed the tubing through so they can easily grab their water and drink as they are walking. The 6-year-old will be carrying her own water this summer, but the 3-year-old isn't quite ready for that yet. And the last thing that I love and think every kid's backpack should have is on the chest strap buckle, there is a whistle right here, right on top there. If they blow into that, it is a whistle. And I think that is just so smart to put on a kid's backpack, especially for a hiking backpack. If they get into trouble, they can always blow the whistle. We teach our kids they're only allowed to blow the whistle whenever we get to the waterfall because I want them to know how to use it, but I also don't want them just blowing it all the time and annoying the other hikers. So we let them practice at least once while we're out, and we tell them if you're ever in trouble, you can blow the whistle as much as you want. The next thing you'll want to make sure everyone has, especially if you're hiking in a place like the Pacific Northwest where we live, is you want to make sure everybody has a rain jacket. There have been so many times when we have started out hiking in gorgeous weather and ended up in a downpour. So it's nice to have a really lightweight rain jacket that you can get really small and put in a backpack and pull out whenever you need it. And just like the rain jackets, it is always good to have a fleece layer for the kids and for yourself as well. So we always have their fleece jackets in the backpack, and I usually bring their fleece pants as well, because sometimes when you get cold, it's just really nice to have a pair of pants and a jacket that you can put on over everything and stay a lot warmer. And if you plan on hiking when it's very cold, you may also want to grab a base layer for your kids. We love this 32 degree brand. It just keeps them nice and warm, and we actually got this at Costco because it was quite a bit cheaper than on Amazon. Another thing you may want to have is hats and gloves. Now, I don't take hats and gloves on short hikes in the summer, but I always take them on long hikes in the summer because, like I said, we have started out with gorgeous weather before and ended up getting poured on. And I always take them on any hike in the fall, winter, and spring. I always try to get hats that cover their ears. That makes a huge difference for them feeling cold. And for gloves, we love these little head brand running gloves. We also got these at Costco, and Ross and I also have them as well for us. They keep their hands nice and warm, and they're a little water resistant. So they just don't get as wet and cold as those regular knitted gloves. And the next thing you'll want to make sure you have is a backpack for mom and or dad, because you'll need something to carry all of this lovely gear in. I have the Osprey Cirrus 24, and I will put a link in the description down below if I can find it for you. This is plenty big enough for me for a day hike with the kids. It is, I believe, 24 liters. I think that's why the 24 is on there. It's big enough for everything that we need. I can put all of our extra stuff in it, the food, the water, and it's just really comfortable to wear. Because another important thing that you always want to make sure you have on your backpack is, just like the kids, chest strap and a waist strap, because that just makes it a lot more comfortable, distributes the weight more evenly, and all that good stuff. And the cool thing is, even for this adult backpack, it also has a whistle on the buckle. So if I am ever in danger, if I fall off the trail and I need a whistle, I have one right there ready to use. And also for this backpack, it has a mesh back, and you can actually put your hand in between there, so it keeps you nice and cool. You don't get super sweaty when you are wearing this backpack. So highly recommend this if you are in need of a backpack. I will put a link in the description down below. And then if your children are very young and they will need some assistance at some point, you may also want to have a child carrier that you can take with you on your hikes. From the time that my kids were about 6 weeks old until they were about 2.5 years old, I would carry them on hikes in this Lilla Baby carrier. And I absolutely loved it. You can wear them on the front, you can wear them on the back, or you can even face them out on the front so that they can look around and see what's going on. And it's just a really comfortable carrier for both me and the girls. They both loved being in it, and I really enjoyed wearing it with them in it. Generally, when we were on a hike, they were being carried on my front so that I could carry my backpack on my back. Then when they got to be about 2.5 years old, we switched them into the larger carrier that my husband now carries because they got heavy. And that carrier looks like this. This is our Osprey carrier. It is the Poco AG Plus. And the cool thing about this is the bottom, let's see if I can do it. The bottom becomes a backpack. So you can put all of your stuff in the backpack as well, and he isn't having to carry a backpack and the kid. And this even also has a place for the water bladder to go, so he can have his water easy access as well. So we've just found this to be a really great all-in-one kid carrier and backpack for the trail. And the last thing you absolutely want to have if you are hiking with kids is a first aid kit. We bought a first aid kit when we first moved to the Northwest, and we didn't use it once until we had a child who was hiking. And I will put a link in the description down below if you want to see the kind that we have. But it's just a really small first aid kit that can nicely fit in our backpack that has everything we need for emergencies on the trail. Then you can keep a larger one in your car if you think you might need a bigger first aid kit for things when you are hiking as well. But you don't need to haul a huge one around unless you are planning on doing huge backpacking trips and having no access to medical care for miles and miles and miles. Something small that fits in your backpack will work just fine. And that is it. That is everything you need to know to get started hiking with your kids. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this type of video. Let me know if you have additional hiking tips for hiking with kids, or if there's any gear that you thought that I left out that is absolutely necessary. Please give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful so more people can find it. And as always, I am Kassy with makingtimeforgiggles.com, and I make videos all about simplifying mom life. So if you would like to see more videos like that, please subscribe down below because I would love to see you on the next one.